Hello, my name is Heather Rodriguez. I'm accompanied by my colleague, Mark Zitzman. Together, we work in the Mid-Central region here at Foundation Source. I'm going to go over a little housekeeping before we get started today. You will see a Q&A box. Please feel free to ask any questions that you might have. We will do our best to get those questions answered during the webinar. However, if we're not able to, we will get those questions directly to you after our session. This webinar will also be recorded, so you will be sent over the replay link as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us today to go over powering up your philanthropy. We will also be briefly going over who we are here at Foundation Source, what we do, and how we do it. So again, please feel free to ask any questions in that Q&A box, and we'll jump right in. So the U.S. is an incredibly charitable country. We are currently the most charitable around the globe, and we really don't see that changing anytime soon. In fact, over the past 4 decades, U.S. giving has increased almost tenfold, which is pretty incredible. What we saw during the pandemic a few years ago, we really saw philanthropists stepping up and stepping forward with their giving and increasing their giving for obvious reasons, whether it be to help individuals across the globe, help businesses stay afloat, or granting to an individual to help pay their mortgage. We've seen a massive influx of donors with intent, and we expect to continue to see that as time passes. Another trend that we're seeing are affluent households, whether it be individuals or families. We're noticing they're identifying more with philanthropy and really seeing it become part of their identity. Philanthropy has become part of their planning tool, and we are seeing it part of their estate planning. And this is another trend that we don't see going away anytime soon. Family engagement is a large driver of private foundations, and we've heard so many great stories over the years of how families are able to come together through their foundation to build a legacy. Families are able to share their passions for philanthropy, share family values, which creates a lasting impact for generations to come. They're able to bring in the younger generation to educate their youth around finance, assets, tax leadership, as well as board participation. So the younger generation, we're seeing them utilizing their experience within their foundation on their resumes for school and jobs as well. Another driver that we're hearing is flexibility and control within their private foundation. So how do they want to fund their foundation? What type of assets will they fund with? How will they use those assets? And what do they want to do from a philanthropic standpoint? Who will be involved with their foundation? Is it family, outside individuals, or potentially it could be a mix of both as well? So what options do they want with their charitable vehicle or vehicles that they have down the road? And we're really seeing private foundations as top of the list as that vehicle of choice to allow for that flexibility and control, whether it be the primary vehicle that they choose to use or potentially just one of the vehicles that they choose. So we're going to tell you a lot about Foundation Source and our model today, but I really want to start with a little bit about who we are and what makes us qualified to speak with you. We are a full service operational partner, exclusively to private foundations. We've been operating in this capacity for over 23 years. We're a relatively small company headquartered in Connecticut. However, we do business in all 50 states. In fact, we currently administer, at this point, over 2,200 private foundations for families and companies. And this ranges in asset size from a little under $1 million to over $1 billion. Half of our business is creating new foundations, while the other half is onboarding existing foundations over to us. If we're honored to work with you, in essence, we become part of your team. So your advisor provides investment and planning expertise, and we administer the foundation in a model that suits your needs. Here at Foundation Source, we do not manage or custody assets. We bring a full suite of solutions that empower you to create a better world with your philanthropy. And this includes 23 years of foundation expertise, an end-to-end platform solution that was purpose-built for foundation management, and flexible support. So not only are we here to meet the unique needs of the foundation, but to complement the internal capabilities of your trusted advisors. So the results of this are better run, smoother, more efficiently run foundations with greater social impact. So when you work with Foundation Source, we make owning and operating a private foundation for families and corporations, regardless of asset size or complexity, and we make it really easy while staying in the good graces of the IRS. And this enables you to really focus on the fun part of your philanthropy. What do you want to do? Who do you want to help? And where around the globe do you want to help them? It provides peace of mind. So whatever ideas or visions you have, if you choose to move forward, you don't have to worry about that. We walk through all of that with you, and you don't have to worry about if things were done correctly or not. You don't have to worry about the grants or the expensing you facilitated through the foundation. We're able to grow your confidence. Again, during the COVID years, when individuals started doing an immense amount of grants to individuals, emergency funds or loans and scholarships to get money into people's hands really quickly, this was really an inspiring moment for our clients. They're able to lay their head down at night without worrying about if things were done correctly or not. We do hear quite a bit of myths when speaking with either clients like yourself or their advisors. The first being you need to allocate 3 to 5 million to afford a foundation. And that's really not true. I've even heard upwards tens of millions for it to make sense. But if you think about it this way, there are 100,000 foundations in the US currently. 67% of those are under $1 million. And we do not ignore that market. We administer plenty of foundations under that $1 million. The second misperception that we hear are private foundations are difficult and expensive to set up. So back in the day, if you were going to seek out and recruit experts, you'd have to pay billable hours, salary, maybe even benefits, and that can get pretty expensive. But if you're working with someone like us, you can get your private foundation up and running in a few days and start granting immediately as soon as it's set up. Number 3, private foundations are a burden to operate. Again, if you're building out your own team, it can take a lot of work. But if you're looking at someone that can handle all the administration for you or work with your team advisors in tandem, we make running a private foundation simplistic and really pleasurable. Number 4, they require investment in staff and infrastructure. So again, if you're building out your own team, it can be a lot of work. So we handle all the administration for you. And I got a little mixed up. So we are virtual staff and foundation experts. We can also work with whoever's in your universe. So the infrastructure we provide on day one, as well as everything you need to manage your foundation and down the road, today and down the road. So there's a huge difference between the traditional foundation model and what we do here at Foundation Source. Our foundation administration model is far more economical for clients today than it ever was. We allow for this automation of day-to-day activities, real-time compliance monitoring, which is a huge value add for clients. It's easier to prevent something from happening than trying to fix something that happened. So the way that we prevent this is we do not allow things to go outside the foundation door that shouldn't. We provide online access to whoever you give permissions to access your foundation, and this facilitates engagement among constituents. For over 2 decades, Foundation Source has been solely focused on setting up and administration of private foundations. So we've really leveraged technology to deliver increased efficiencies where it makes sense and have developed expertise. We do that at scale. So that's making our tech-enabled expertise accessible across a range of private foundations. So this is modern philanthropy powered by Foundation Source. We encompass technology, administration, and expertise.
You know, Heather, this is a really simple slide, but I like the message because we get a tremendous amount of industry press for our foundation management platform. And rightfully so. We've been an innovator in that space for a long time. But the fact is, we're a full service operational partner to private foundations. And like any enterprise, foundations are operating businesses. To be highly effective operating organization, you need to get 3 things right. You need to get people, process, and technology. Our story as a company is for the past 23 years, Foundation Source has embarked on an iterative process to build and refine a framework capable of delivering specialized services to support foundations in people, process, and technology. So if it's okay with you, Heather, I want to share a visual that I think will help illustrate the comprehensive nature of our model. When we partner with a foundation client, they retain control of some really important aspects. They control how the foundation is governed, they control the mission and strategy, as well as the granting and investment strategies. Our model has the capacity and the capability to be the engine behind all of this in its entirety or in collaboration with staff and advisors. Generally, I think of our model in layers, and it starts with a technology platform that was purpose-built for foundation management. We call it Impactfully. For clients seeking a more comprehensive solution, we add a layer of client service. And it's through that client advisor that foundations have access to our teams of tax and legal and philanthropic advisory expertise. So our model offers a highly efficient people, process, and technology to power a foundation's philanthropic mission. And it's interestingly customizable to meet the unique needs of every foundation, no matter where they're at in their evolution. So within this comprehensive model, we can offer a technology solution or layer on a variety of service configurations. So let's talk about that platform for a minute. I'll start by sharing, this very nice quote from a client about Impactfully. And, at Foundation Source, I'm the face to the firm for families and foundation members as they explore our service offering. And relative to the duration of a client's journey with Foundation Source, the time that I spend with them is brief, but it's really high quality. I certainly get to know clients well enough to be concerned about their care after they leave me. So I stay in touch with them. And when I engage clients, what they rave about most is our cloud-based platform, especially those clients that have either used or vetted other software solutions. They're typically pleased with how comprehensive it is, how efficient it is, how well organized they can be with that. And most of all, it's just because it's so easy to use. Impactfully is a cloud-based platform that was purpose-built for foundation management, fully customizable to the way users want to manage their foundation, has been constantly improved based on user feedback, and today is the only end-to-end foundation management platform on the market. And I'll share more about that in a minute, but first I want to talk about our platform in terms of value to the user. What does it mean for them as users? Impactfully is a platform for family members, board members, and their advisors to collaborate and engage on foundation-related matters. And every foundation has a unique makeup. It could be a one-person shop. It could be a geographically dispersed family members. It could be foundation staff or corporate staff. Oftentimes, there are advisors involved, and other interested parties involved. Impactfully is the platform where all of these parties engage. Foundation representatives have full control of users and can set permissions for how they want, for what and what they want them to see, what they can and can't see, as well as what activities and approvals they have access to. Most of these people are geographically dispersed, so the ability to engage from any device anywhere has real value to foundations. Impactfully is also a seamless integration of foundation management activities, from researching charities to granting, transaction processing, document creation, reporting. What may have taken a dozen different business processes and software is now streamlined into one integrated tool. And that tool is really incredibly valuable to foundations. And finally, Impactfully is the central repository for foundation-related documents, records, historical data, grantee correspondence, all in one place. And just to reiterate, the Foundation's Impactfully platform is accessible to users anytime, anywhere, from any device. They can access the foundation, they can create actions, they can communicate with grantees or your private client advisor. You can check with the status of applications or grants. By way of example, it's not uncommon for a client to be at a gala or an event where they get inspired to give. And with Impactfully, they can do that on the spot, or they can ping their private client advisor and initiate some research. It's dynamic and user-friendly, consistent with the permissions that each person has been accessed, each user has been granted. So earlier I mentioned streamlined activities as a value driver. One great example of this is grant management. So grant management processes are unique to each foundation. Think about the breadth of activities that could be included from start to finish. You have creation of the application, completion and submission by the grantee, review by the foundation, voting protocol, which can take any variety of forms, acceptance or denial of the request, communication of the decision, processing the check, production of the appropriate documents, distribution of the check and documentation, and finally, periodic tracking of the impact of these grant dollars over time. All of that is a potential, activities within the grant process. What could take a multitude of manual processes and software tools to accomplish, impactfully automates in a single platform. What's more, understanding that not every grant management process is the same, Impactfully is configurable and customizable to however the foundation wants to manage every step of that process. The foundation's Impactfully platform is accessible to users anytime from any device, anywhere. Oh, sorry, I went the wrong direction. Heather, you're not alone in today in making the mistakes. So similar to the grant lifecycle, Impactfully is has integrated functionality to administer and track expenses from the time the request is made to authorizing payment, check processing, automated mapping to the MDR tracking, and production of reports. Again, what would have taken multiple business processes and software programs, Impactfully is integrated into a single platform, customizable to the way the foundation chooses to manage their expenses. So there's also functionality to report out any of the data that resides on the platform. So users can choose from any of 36 pre-formatted reports that we've curated based on 23 years of experience working with foundations. And if they're looking for something more granular, they can either self-customize a report using our report writer, or they can work with their private client advisor or finance teams to develop a report to their specifications. These custom reports can be added to their report library. And it should be mentioned that users can set any of these reports up to be automatically produced and distributed on a set schedule. Imagine how much time would be saved for a periodic board report to be automatically produced and distributed. That's the power of Impactfully. So that's an overview of our technology. Let's revisit the layers of our model. Remember that there's the base layer is Impactfully, our technology platform. And for foundations that want a more comprehensive solution, we can add a layer of client service. In this model, every foundation is assigned a dedicated private client advisor who's the primary point of contact for setup, orientation, and day-to-day administrative support for the duration of your relationship with Foundation Source. I have a client who's a philanthropic advisor at a corporate foundation, and she once said to me that using Foundation Source as your back office is like having an old house that's been totally restored. Everything works, it's organized, and I don't have to constantly worry about efficient processes and the latest technology. You guys make sure that everything works efficiently. I live in an old house and I can relate to that. Foundation Source invests in the latest technology. And the business processes that we employ to administer foundations are time tested over the past 23 years, working exclusively in the private foundation space. We offer fractional resources on demand, and we operate at scale. So in addition to everything working at 100%, we're cost effective. Unlike renovating an old house, I can tell you from experience. Our full service clients benefit from decades of experience administering foundations. You're the visionary, we're the team of back office experts. Listed here are a handful of core administrative services we provide. It's not all inclusive, but if it's foundation related, in all likelihood, we support that activity. There are things that we don't do, and some that we can carve out if clients ask. For example, we don't manage your custody assets. Heather mentioned that earlier, affording the foundations the continuity of your own investment advisor. Similarly, we're very good at tax returns. We're very efficient, effective at tax returns and filings. But there's a handful of clients who prefer their own tax preparer, and so we have no problem carving that out. In fact, we make it very easy for them. As foundation professionals, or board members or interested parties to your private foundation. I think the overarching consideration when contemplating Foundation Source as your back office solution is that we create capacity for your foundation. Capacity that can be redeployed to focus on the things that are important to your philanthropic mission. Okay, back to the layers of our model. We've discussed the technology platform. We've layered on top client service. Now, the top layer is our expertise, all focused exclusively on private foundations. Here's another nice quote from one of our clients to make the point that we bring our expertise to bear when our clients need it. It's formidable, and it gives many of our clients confidence to stretch themselves philanthropically, knowing that we'll keep them on the right side of the IRS. The breadth and depth of our human expertise and intellectual capital have expanded and been refined over the duration of our 23 years in the business. And we bring that expertise to the table for our clients and their advisors. We are experts at setting up foundations and establishing their charitable status if that's needed. Our private client advisors orient and train clients, advisors, and interested parties on the platform. They're also the foundation's day-to-day operational resource. And our teams of tax, legal, and philanthropic advisors are on call at all times. Our mission as a company is to make philanthropy easier, more enjoyable for foundations, so that they can focus on their mission to create a better world. In addition to our human expertise, we have a robust library of resources and intellectual capital on philanthropy and private foundations in the form of white papers, webinars, training videos, research, all available on our resource hub, which you can find at foundationsource.com/resources or on the resources tab of our homepage. We're getting close to our time contract with you good folks, so I'll wrap up with a few final thoughts. Of everything you've heard today, nothing says more to me about our ability to deliver value to clients than our 98% client retention rate. If we do things right, in all likelihood, we'll be partners for a very long time. And when foundations partner with Foundation Source, they join a community of 2,200 foundations, among which they're going to find their peers to learn, share insights and ideas, and in many cases, collaborate on their shared passion. And one final note, at the top, Heather mentioned that we're a relatively small company headquartered in Connecticut, which is, it's true, but we do business in all 50 states. In fact, I want you to take a quick look at our coverage model and take note of those folks that might be in your territory, in your region. That handsome gentleman in the middle is me. I'm in the Mid-Central region with Heather. You can also find this information on our website. So with that, Heather, I'll turn it back to you. Do you think we have time to answer a few of the questions in the queue?
We do have a few that came in. Yes, we can answer a few of them. The first being, how does Foundation Source ensure responsive client service?
Ensure responsive. Well, first of all, every foundation is assigned a dedicated private client advisor. That is your dedicated day-to-day go-to person for all your operational needs for every foundation client. So they're a phone call away at any time. Those folks are also your portal into any of the expertise that they need to bring to the table. They're also the ones who are, doing your initial compliance checks and all of that. So they're great issue spotters as well, whether you need to reach out to them or not. They'll be identifying issues that arise through transactions of any kind. And so that is your point of contact, is your dedicated private client advisor.
Okay, next question. Will the deck be sent separately as well along with the recording?
Yeah, it will be. We'll send the deck with it.
Another question, what is the fee structure? Not sure.
That's a good question. I mean, and it's a fair question. It's just not one that I can go into because it really depends on your service configuration. I mentioned when I was talking about, when I introduced the layers, that that we customize our solutions to every client situation. And fees range. I can tell you there's two components to fees. There's typically a setup fee one-time setup fee, and then there's an annual service fee based on size and complexity. But any more granularity than that is really up to how the service is configured for each client.
I would say, you think one or two more questions, Mark?
I'll take however many we have time for.
Can you describe the onboarding process at Foundation Source?
Onboarding, so the process for onboarding, I assume they mean onboarding from being onto being a client of Foundation Source and having us serve them in some way. And it really depends on whether it's a new or existing foundation. Both of those processes are facilitated by a private client advisor, as well as an implementation specialist. For new foundations, it's relatively straightforward. We have to create the corporate entity, file charitable status, set up accounts so that we can fund and transact and configure the platform. And we can have things set up and ready to fund in as little as 3 days, and then fully operating very shortly thereafter. So for new foundations, it's relatively straightforward. For existing foundations, also, it can depend on the service configuration. So here's how it typically works, again, with hands-on support from a private client advisor and an implementation specialist. So you'll have a welcome call, which is where we'll introduce you to the private client advisor, discuss the transition, identify officers, directors, trustees, and out of that will come a startup package, a package of startup documents that the client will need to sign and submit. And for the most part, that's an automated process. Then the next call is to discuss tax and financial matters, connectivity to the client account, tax responsibilities, setup of platform users, and we start loading the grant history. After that, we have a platform introduction call to review permissions, conduct user walkthroughs, and do any customization that needs to be done. And after that, we distribute the login IDs and away you go. And that process can take anywhere from, I would say, roughly 2 weeks, because there's some give and take. There's some back and forth where we send things to them and then we have to wait to get them back. 2 weeks, and can take longer. It's really up to how motivated the foundation is.
Okay, we have a few more, and then we're going to have to end the session. Advisor is assigned to each foundation. How many advisors do you have, I guess, work with? I'm not sure if we have that. Or
I'm sorry, Heather, is the question how many
advisors do we have?
Wealth advisors? We work with wealth
I think they're
advisors all the time.
private client advisor.
We have, I don't know how many. We have, I think 4 or 5 teams of private client advisors. And each team, I don't know the total number. Each team probably has, I don't know, they're different 5 on them. I mean, there's a lot of private client advisors.
Last question, and then we'll have to get to the rest of them directly to you after the session. Do you help apply for a foundation with the IRS?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do you help apply for a foundation with the IRS?
Yes, we actually, when I mentioned a little earlier about the onboarding, when I talked about new foundations, that's what we're doing for new foundations, is where we are actually helping them get their corporate entity, which will give us their tax ID number. And then we use that tax ID number to set up their investment account. We actually go through obtaining the 501c3 with the IRS. We go through that interview and application process with them. We do the entire setup for them, and that's part for a new foundation. That's part of your one-time setup fee.
Okay, well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you guys for joining. Again, we will get those unanswered questions directly to you, as well as a replay.
Thanks, Heather.
Have a